let me just ask. Hi, Farhan. Farhan, could you please add the office of Mr. Kant as the panelist?
What is the name, ma'am?
The first one, Amitabh Kant. It's the office that's trying to connect. Please add him as a panelist.
Amitabh Kant.
Yes.
Ma'am, I have also made you a post. You can also add if someone required to, you can from attendee.
Thank you so much. I'll do that. Thank you.
Farhan, can you also make me the co-host, Divya?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Hello, colleagues. This is Renata. I'm just doing a sound check. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
We can hear.
Great. Thank you so much.
So I'm not able to start my video. Hello.
Farhan, could you please see? Mr. Ravi Singh is not able to start his video.
No, I'm sorry. I'm from Mr. Amitabh Kant's office.
Yes.
My video is fine. Thank you.
Yes.
So I'm Mr. Amitabh Kant's office. I'm not able to start my video.
Okay.
Can you please?
Mr. Amitabh Kant's office, Farhan, please check if the video can be started.
Sorry, ma'am, what are you saying?
Please check if the camera for Mr. Amitabh Kant's office, as in the video, can be started for Mr. Amitabh Kant's office.
He need to start from his side. I'm just
okay. Saurabh, could you please see if the camera is on from your side?
You need to switch on the camera.
So, yeah, we can see that. We can see this now.
Hello, can you see the chair?
Yes, we can see.
Okay, perfect.
इस लैपटॉप के साथ चार्जर के साथ ही ले जाता
प्रेजेंटेशन हाँ उसी को बना आप वो ले लो रिमोट ले लो
Stand Up for Nature is a nationwide movement to reconnect people with nature. It builds on our understanding of nature through talks, courses, publications.
Yes. क्यों मैं पूरी वेट कर रहा था. Okay.
Thank you. That was the very committed and compassionate Dia Mirza, United Nations Environment Program Goodwill Ambassador. तो ये ऐसे नहीं आएगा ना? हाँ वही कह रही हूँ. आएगा ऐसे? बाद में कम करें. ठीक. And UN SDG advocate with a heartfelt message. Thank you, Dia, for the introduction to this hugely significant event. Ladies and gentlemen, at this inaugural session of the World Environment Day 2020, organized by United Nations Environment Program in association with the Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change, Government of India, we have an august lineup of speakers and dignitaries in our midst today to share their thoughts and to flag off innovative environment awareness campaigns. Thus, brevity shall be highly appreciated. Thank you. And with that, ठीक है.
Hello, mic check.
अन्ना सर, हर बार जब मेरा खत्म हो जाता है मुझे बंद करना है ना, नहीं तो गड़बड़ होता है. Ananya, have we told people who are launching कि क्लिक कर उन्हें दिया जाएगा? अन्ना सर, अन्ना सर, सॉरी, जब ये पहला लॉन्च होता है स्टैंड विद नेचर का, तो एक क्लिकर श्री आरपी गुप्ता को दिया जाएगा. वो ऐसे क्लिक करेंगे तो वहां से अनन्या वीडियो चला देगी, है ना? तो ये उन्हें बताया गया है कि क्लिकर हम देंगे, आपको क्लिक करना है क्या पहले से? अच्छा अच्छा, हाँ. मेरे पास एक कॉपी है.
दिया जी, आपको सुनाई दे रहा है मेरी बात?
जी।
Can't hear you. This is Keshav Verma,
I can
Global
hear you.
Tiger Initiative.
Yes, I know. I can hear you, sir.
You
hear
can,
me?
huh?
Yes, yes.
Good to have you there.
Thank you. We'll start in a minute.
आप बॉम्बे में कि दिल्ली में?
I'm in Mumbai, sir.
थोड़ी नजरें इनायत कीजिए बॉम्बे के ऊपर भी।
Welcome to World Environment Day 2020. World Environment Day, United Nations Environment Programme's flagship event, is celebrated every year on June 5th. It is dedicated to encouraging worldwide awareness and action for promoting progress on the environmental dimensions of the Sustainable Development Goals. World Environment Day offers an opportunity to reflect on our accomplishments and also renew our resolve in overcoming major environmental challenges facing the world today. Countries all over the world participate each year in World Environment Day celebrations to champion environmental causes. The theme for this World Environment Day 2020 is biodiversity, in recognition of the importance of the year for the future of biodiversity. The year also ushers in the UN Decade for Ecosystem Restoration 2021-2030 and provides an opportunity to ramp up efforts towards scaling up ecological balance solutions to food security, water supply, and protecting biodiversity. It is important we recognize that securing our biodiversity and natural habitats is at the forefront of achieving the Sustainable Development Goals. India has significant global hotspots of biodiversity and is recognized as one of the 17 mega biodiverse countries, with 4 of the world's biodiversity hotspots. UNEP India, in partnership with the Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change, will today set the national context for World Environment Day 2020. As UNEP's Goodwill Ambassador, I hope this World Environment Day will lay foundation for a post-COVID world that recognizes how fundamental our need to protect nature is for our survival. May we strengthen our resolve to ensure we secure human rights for every citizen of our country. Protecting our biodiversity will ensure we have clean air to breathe, water to drink, food to eat, and better health. This critical connection between human health and well-being with nature must guide our conscience in all choices we make as individuals, governments, public and private sector, as we will build back better. To care for humanity, we must care for nature and commit to a green and resilient future. Let us all commit to build back sustainable. Jai Hind. Over to you, Aishwarya.
Thank you very much, Dia. That was the very compassionate and committed Dia Mirza, United Nations Environment Programme Goodwill Ambassador and UN SDG advocate, with her heartfelt message. Thank you, Dia, for the introduction to this hugely significant virtual event. Ladies and gentlemen, India has 4 world's biodiversity hotspots and is recognized as one of the 17 mega biodiverse countries. Now, I extend a very, very warm welcome to all of you to this inaugural session of the World Environment Day 2020, organized by United Nations Environment Programme in association with the Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change, Government of India. We have an august lineup of speakers and dignitaries in our midst today, and they'll be sharing their thoughts, and they will flag off innovative environment awareness campaigns and thus brevity will be highly appreciated. Thank you very much. On that note, I would invite Mrs. Manju Pandey, Joint Secretary, Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change, to set the national context for World Environment Day 2020. Srimati Manju Pandey.
As we all know, World Environment Day, led by UNEP, is United Nations' most important day for encouraging worldwide awareness and action for the protection of environment. Each year, World Environment Day is celebrated around a specific theme that focuses on a particularly pressing environmental concern. In 2020, UNEP is focusing on the superhuman biodiversity. Yeah, compare with.
And as we begin, once again, I'd like to extend a warm welcome to all of you to the inaugural session of the World Environment Day 2020, organized by United Nations Environment Programme in association with the Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change, Government of India. And we're indeed graced by the Honorable Minister of State for Environment, Forest and Climate Change, who's here with us. He's going to be delivering the inaugural address for this inaugural session of the World Environment Day. Thank you so much, sir, for gracing this occasion with your presence. And with that, I'm now going to request Mrs. Manju Pandey, Joint Secretary, Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change, to please set the national context for World Environment Day 2020. Madam, please.
Good morning, everyone. As we all know, World Environment Day, led by UNEP, is United Nations' most important day for encouraging worldwide awareness and action for the protection of environment. Each year, World Environment Day is celebrated around a specific theme that focuses on a particularly pressing environmental concern. In 2020, UNEP is focusing on the super year of nature and biodiversity. Biodiversity is a variety of life forms in any given habitat, animals, plants, microorganisms, and their interactions with the physical environment, which creates complex ecosystems that sustain all life on planet. It is integral to food production, fuel, medicines, and the numerous regulating, supporting, and cultural ecosystem services that humans benefit from. Further, ecosystem disruption and the loss of biodiversity have a major impact on the emergence, transmission, and spread of infectious diseases. Amidst the global pandemic lies a reminder of the intimate relationship among human, animals, and the environment. It is time to reflect and realize the importance of nature. We need nature more than it needs us. The present situation has affected World Environment Day celebrations and also the activities planned in the build-up to the day. Seminars have given way to webinars, and all celebrations happening are virtual, which now seems to be the new normal. UNEP has also decided to focus this year's World Environment Day activities primarily around a global digital campaign, with all mobilization and engagement activities to be implemented in virtual spaces. A virtual World Environment Day 2020 will draw public attention to the remarkable value of the natural world, and that this is the time for nature. The activities will ask citizens, governments, organizations, and businesses to raise their voices and take strong action for nature. These are times of borderless solidarity. It is time to dig deep and for everyone to play a role, both in the immediate crisis and in building back better. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Pandey, for setting the premise for today's proceedings. I'd now request Ms. Renata Lok-Dessallien, UN Resident Coordinator, India, to please deliver the opening address.
Honorable ministers, senior government officials, distinguished members of this extremely important virtual panel, members of civil society, and my dear colleagues from the United Nations Environment Program. Ladies and gentlemen, namaste and a very good morning to all of you. Let me start by reading the United Nations Secretary General's special message for World Environment Day this year. I quote, "Nature is sending us a clear message. We are harming the natural world to our own detriment. Habitat degradation and biodiversity loss are accelerating. Climate disruption is getting worse. Fires, floods, droughts, and superstorms are more frequent and damaging. Oceans are heating and acidifying, destroying natural coral ecosystems. And now a new coronavirus is raging, undermining health and livelihoods. To care for humanity, we must care for nature. We need our entire global community to change course. Let's rethink what we buy and use, adopt sustainable habits, farming and business models, safeguard remaining wild spaces and wildlife, and commit to a green and resilient future. As we work to build back better, let's put nature where it belongs, at the heart of our decision-making. On this World Environment Day, it's time for nature." End of quote. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, COVID-19 has sent shockwaves around the world. It's shaken our societies and our economies. It's destroyed lives, torn families apart, and it's inflicted untold suffering on millions of people. But in addition to its destruction, our COVID-19 lockdowns have given nature a pause, a reprieve from destructive human behaviors. Several times during the lockdown, I looked at my AQI indicator and it read green. It read 17, 12, 11 some days. That's like Swiss mountain meadow air in the middle of Delhi. Birds, hundreds of them, some of them wild birds, have returned to Delhi. I don't have a garden, but I see nature blooming. So in the midst of COVID's human suffering and anxieties, nature has been allowed to breathe. And with that breath, she's brought us wonderment and hope. The term new normal is being used a lot these days, portraying both that things will never be the same again after COVID-19, but also that some things should not be the same again. And among the things that should not be the same again is our pre-COVID destructive behavior towards the environment. We all know that the unhealthy relationship that we fostered over decades was leading us resolutely towards a dark abyss. We know that the dominant development model is unsustainable, it's deeply flawed. And we know what needs to be done to fix it, what priorities, what policies. We know the practices, the incentives and disincentives. We know the approaches that need to be done to fix it. But will we do it? That is the question. Here in India, I've been deeply impressed by the many efforts made towards achieving the Sustainable Development Goals. Big strides have been made, and there's no question about that. On the environmental front, while the challenges are immense, so is the knowledge, the capacity, the commitment of millions of people across this country, especially young people. And Indian society is steeped in ancient wisdom from centuries gone by that have taught respect, no, reverence for nature, for Mother Nature. It's my ardent hope that India's recovery from COVID-19 will inspire the rest of the world on this front, that India will demonstrate that economic development and environmental preservation are not a zero-sum game, that they can and indeed they must go hand in hand. India's soft power is particularly effective. Look at yoga, look at meditation, look at Ayurvedic medicine, look at India's blue helmets, UN peacekeepers around the world. Look at Bollywood, look at your authors, your poets, your musicians, and much more. India has given the world so much. I hope that harmony between economic activity and the natural environment can soon be added to this list for India's sake and for the world's. What other country has endowed rivers, the mighty Ganga and the Yamuna, with the legal status of a human person? What other country can claim to have had an elephant sanctuary 300 BC? What other country's ancient scriptures are so laden with timeless wisdom of the interconnectedness between all living beings? India has shown the world the way on so many fundamentally important areas. Please show us the way on this. It's time for nature. Happy World Environment Day. Namaste. Namaste.
Thank you, ma'am, for sharing your keen insights. Indeed, it is time for nature. And on that note, may I now request Mr. RP Gupta, Secretary, Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change, to please deliver the theme address.
Honorable Minister of State, Babul Supriyo ji, the ministers from different countries, the UNEP representatives, and other dignitaries. We are meeting in a very unusual time. The social distancing, masks, they have become the norm. And unfortunately, this has been brought to a large extent by what we have done to the nature. But India is known for its rich biodiversity and is one of the 7 mega diverse countries in the world with 2.4% of the world land area. It contributes about 8% of the known global biodiversity. The current pandemic has brought worldwide attention to the human health dimension of the overexploitation of wild species and their habitat. When we evolved, we depended totally on nature. But unfortunately, with the development, the agriculture revolution, and later on, industrial revolution, somehow the equations and the relation between man and nature, it seems to have reversed. We need that this balance is restored. This planet has delivered a strong warning that humanity must change. A zoonotic risk and response program is required to improve countries' ability to reduce threats through nature-positive approaches, including a mapping of risk from the unregulated wildlife trade, habitat fragmentation, and biodiversity loss. It is only apt that this year's overarching focus for the World Environment Day is time for nature. The year 2020 is witnessing nature's poignant and vociferous pleas to help restore balance. We must recall that initial aim for 1972 Stockholm Conference, which was to aid in stimulating and providing guidelines for action by national governments and international organizations facing environmental issues. India is increasingly being recognized as a pioneer and a front runner on conservation issues. From its presidency of UNCCD COP14 to that of the CMS COP13, India has demonstrated its leadership on land management priorities as well as in the conservation of its species. India, through its policies, is demonstrating its commitment to address the drivers of biodiversity loss. The policies are not only aimed at changing regulations, but also to drive behavioral change in the people and the society. As a commitment under the New Delhi Declaration at UNCCD COP14, the people-first approach will be used to combat land degradation, and the participation of civil society will be very crucial. Our Honorable Prime Minister also proclaimed, India's ambitious goal aims to increase the total area restored from land degradation from 2.1 million hectares to 2.6 million hectares. Achieving land degradation neutrality is vital to fulfillment of several sustainable development goals. The benefit of achieving this shall be reflected in climate resilience, energy, water and food security, increasing farmers' income, and poverty alleviation. As the only global convention that works to conserve migratory species and their habitat, CMS has to strengthen its role over the next triennium. India, during its presidency, will use this opportunity to showcase its leadership on these issues from 2020 to 2030. India has an important opportunity to advance work on managing migratory species and their habitat. Under the Gandhinagar Declaration, which calls upon the concept of ecological connectivity to be integrated and prioritized in the post-2020 global biodiversity framework. It's time for nature, it's time to put people first, and it's time for us to collaborate symbiotically to ensure that we are all doing our bit to ensure its safekeeping and safeguarding. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for setting the tone of the day's proceedings. And with that, I would like to inform my virtual audience, this August virtual gathering, that we are joined by the Honorable Minister of Human Resource Development, Shri Ramesh Pokhriyal Nishank ji, who is adorning this occasion at this juncture. So we extend a very warm welcome to him, and thank you, sir, for gracing this occasion with your presence. Our planet and our life are incomplete without the millions of living organisms that exist on Earth. This amazing biodiversity builds, sustains, and supports our planet. It is time that we all recalibrate our relationship with nature and its diversity. And so, Stand with Nature is a nationwide biodiversity campaign being launched today by WWF India in partnership with Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change, UNEP, UNDP, NBA, and IUCN CEC to boost the nature quotient of all individuals through local action. I'm going to request Mr. RP Gupta, Secretary, Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change, to please take the remote, click a button and launch the campaign, Stand with Nature. You know, we're adapting to technology in this new normal. Sometimes technology glitches could happen. Can we try that video again with... All right then. Stand with Nature. Thank you, sir, for launching the campaign Stand with Nature. And the August virtual gathering, I'm going to request you to please check the website today to increase your nature quotient so that we can defend, sustain, and restore nature together. On that note, let me request Mr. Ravi Singh, Secretary General and CEO, WWF India, to tell us more about the campaign, please.
Thank you, and namaskar to everyone. I am honored to be part of this launch, which is Stand with Nature. Stand with Nature is actually a nationwide movement to reconnect people with nature, and will run through a digital platform to offer an exciting user journey of learning, exploration, and action for the protection of nature. It is divided into 3 phases. and it includes an assortment of activities for all age groups from children, youth to adults. It starts by building knowledge about nature and its biodiversity and its diversity through online courses, expert talks, publications, and an interactive biodiversity map. It then builds on valuing nature by exploration, discovery, and to share the wonders of the natural world from balconies of flats to parks through an application which is developed by iNaturalist. Third, it acts for nature by taking positive actions in the form of planting trees, adopting native trees, reducing our footprint, and taking the Tide Turner Plastic Challenge to help to safeguard the future of our planet and to reduce our footprint. We are honored to have partner organizations, MOFCC being the primary, NBA, UNEP, UNDP, IUC and CEC for this purpose, and many others. The rationale primarily is that we are losing nature faster than it can restore itself. The deteriorating health of our planet has a grave impact on the life of humans. We must all change our relationship with the natural world to protect and restore biodiversity, and by doing so, to save ourselves. The first step is to build our nature quotient by understanding the natural world around us, valuing its importance, taking positive action to safeguard the future of our planet. If you recall, many years ago, you have seen the photograph taken by Voyager 1 of the Earth millions of miles when it turned its camera and looked at the solar system and the entire spectrum of the universe. There was one little blue dot. That little blue dot is the Earth. It's the only planet of its kind. And today, on World Environment Day, we all stand together to protect and preserve the planet for future generations. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for sharing the vision and goals of Stand With Nature campaign. And World Environment Day 2020 is a critical year for biodiversity and in highlighting the indivisible bond humans have with biodiversity, wildlife, and nature. Keeping this in mind, we present the campaign Spot the Endangered, created by Ogilvy, especially for UN Environment Program. This campaign's resolve is to see more of them. 3 endangered species have been selected to provide a visual identity to the campaign and include the great Indian bustard, the snow leopard, and the Gangetic River dolphin. So I'm going to take the privilege of requesting the Honorable Minister of State for Environment, Forest and Climate Change, Government of India, Shri Babul Supriyo, to kindly flag off and mark the call to action for all of us. Sir. Yes, sir, please take the remote and I would request you to press a button. There we go. Thank you. Thank you, Honorable Minister. I now request you to please deliver the very significant inaugural address.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, it's my pleasure to be part of this noble endeavor today. The 2020 World Environment Day, Super Year for Nature and Biodiversity, the United Nations Environment Program, which is being organized by the UN Environment, obviously United Nations Environment Program. I would like to congratulate and acknowledge the presence of several dignitaries in today's launch function. It's a new world where getting together for a particular cause is actually staying away from each other for the need of the hour and maintaining the norms of social distancing. But it is the togetherness of the hearts and the heart that should beat, with more sincerity for Mother Nature. This is, to me, the World Environment Day is an extension of Mother's Day, because we are talking about the mother planet, planet Earth. And like we grew up in our childhood getting scolds from our mother when we went wrong, when we did the wrong things, I think today it is not just a coincidence that Mother Nature is giving us warnings in many forms worldwide, for us to be more careful when we are handling the environment, and why this planet till today is the only only planet where human beings and all other different millions and millions of different species coexist, and why this word coexistence is so important, why we complement our existence on planet Earth with each other, and why it is therefore important to preserve and ensure that this planet is kept in good shape, very much taken care in the manner where good children take care of their respective mothers. I would like to acknowledge the gracious presence of Dia Mirza, a very special film personality for me, because I would like to mention, since you spoke about since Renata Lok-Dessallien, UN Resident Coordinator India, welcome to you. Since you mentioned that music, mentioned music in your speech, I would like to just add a small trivia that in my album in 1999, where we spoke about Khoya Khoya Chand, that means a little bit of a melancholy that we see on the moon, and Khoya Khoya Asman, a little bit melancholy in the sky. In that video, Dia Mirza ji had featured, and she was then she's still a very beautiful lady, the UNEP Goodwill Ambassador and the UN SDG advocate. But then she had just won the Miss India Asia Pacific and made India very proud. It's a very sad thing. The reason why I mentioned this, or I felt the need to punch in this particular thing, is because the composer of that particular song, Khoya Khoya Chand, which was very popular in India and worldwide amongst the Indian audiences, the very young music composer, Wajid, died. Apart from comorbidity, he did contract COVID-19, and that made his battle even more harder, and he lost his life only at the tender age of 42, just 3 days back. So that's one of the reasons why I mentioned this song. Please pardon me for going a little off track, but I think it is important for us to understand that anyone and everyone can get a beat from nature if we do not value the great planet that we have been given by God, nature, destiny, whatever you would like to believe in or you believe in. I congratulate and welcome and acknowledge the presence of Sri Atul Bhakti, India head of UNEP. I would like to express my gratitude to Sri Ramesh, Pokhriyal, Honorable Minister, Human Resources Development, Government of India, for making his presence in today's meeting. Thank you, sir. I am told that it was nice to hear Mr. Ravi Singh, who's the Secretary General and CEO of WWF India, and of course our very own RP Gupta Sahab, the Secretary of Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change. Today is a very special day because 2020 is a critical year for biodiversity and was being seen as a super year for nature because of the key international policy meetings on climate change and biodiversity earlier planned for 2020. This year brings to end the United Nations Decade on Biodiversity in the backdrop of scientific community sounding repeated alarm bells on global biodiversity breakdown. Every end is a new beginning. So though it may sound funny that I'm saying that this year brings an end to the United Nations Decade on Biodiversity, I think this end in itself and what has been achieved during this particular endeavor, it marks a new beginning on bigger and greater heights from where we can achieve even better goals. According to the landmark Global Assessment Report on Biodiversity and Ecosystem Services released in May 2019, by the Intergovernmental Science Policy Platform on Biodiversity and Ecosystem Services, 1 million species are threatened with extinction. 1 million species. I would not stop myself in saying that human beings are very much part of that threat, and we are threatened because we are the ones who surely harm the environment, the climate, in the most brutal manner. So the other animals who coexist, which are with us, they are not as damaging to the ecosystem the way we human beings have been very careless in handling Mother Nature. So nature is declining globally at rates unprecedented in human history. And the rate of species extinctions is accelerating with grave impacts on people. The year 2020 ushers in the United Nations Decade for Ecosystem Restoration. It's a new beginning, as I said. 2020 to 2030 is the period when this would be in effect, and it provides an opportunity to ramp up to a decade where efforts will be made towards scaling up ecologically balanced solutions to food security, water supply, and protecting biodiversity. It is therefore appropriate that World Environment Day 2020 has biodiversity as its theme. We hope that this Environment Day celebrations will help build momentum and rally the world community behind a more ambitious and robust framework that can create significant change for nature. I am very proud to say that under the inspiring and invigorating leadership and roadmap laid down by our Honorable Prime Minister, Shri Narendra Modi ji, the Government of India have laid down adequate emphasis on an environmentally sustainable recovery and solicits the support of all the stakeholders, be it industry, multilateral agencies, UN system, academia, different sectors of economy, practitioners, or civil society organizations. Isn't it funny that I said that it's only human beings who harm the earth in the most brutal manner, and all these endeavors that we are talking about, the expectations that we have from different organizations, whatever the platform may be, are all made up of human beings. So therefore we have the responsibility to ensure that not only do we make our life on this planet safer, and for our children, for the people who are going to traverse the earth in the years to come, but we are the ones who need to assume the responsibility to ensure that all these animals who coexist with us in this planet and help the ecosystem are properly taken care of for us to survive. And of that, climate, environment, everything else is very, very important. And one other very important aspect is to ensure that we keep this a green planet. And therefore, on this day, I would like to stress upon the need for all of us to maybe plant one tree every year, and to ensure that that tree it does not die in the nursery stage, but assumes the full growth that is expected of it. Just imagine if we take this on a mission mode, we have about 7 billion people on planet Earth. If even 50% of us takes it upon ourselves in a concerted manner, in a conscious manner, to plant a tree every year, we are going to have 3.5 billion trees in just a year. And if you can continue the sustainable effort of doing this every year, we are going to see a much greener planet. The planet does heal itself. We know a big hole in the ozone layer, it has cured itself, but it is not going to happen all the time. And therefore, we need to put in our very best to decrease carbon emissions and ensure that our carbon footprints are appropriate without damaging the planet further, because it is already lying very damaged by whatever we have done. The government has come forward with very sizable enhancement in Manrega, for revival in rural employment and demand to be aligned with green goals. So there are goals that need to be, achieved in the green sector, as I said, and that is what is going to generate employment, happiness, and everything else that comes with it. The policy measures for MSMEs, credit packages, liquidity infusion, investment measures, announced are aimed at significant revival of the industry. But everything, put in a nutshell, depends upon where we are going to do all, where we deem to do all these endeavors, as we say, as we write it in black and white on the planet. The planet has to survive, and it has to survive with better health, much better health than what it is today. So if we can make sure that the planet survives, the platform on which human beings grow and flourish, if that platform survives in the manner it is supposed to, we have all the scientific knowledges, we exactly know what are the right things to do. And if we do those right things in the right manner with sincerity of the heart, then we are not going to be left behind when it comes to preserving this world for us and for every species that resides on this planet. So once again, I hope that everyone, we see a very I can definitely put in one positive note as I end my address to you, is that today we see a much more conscious society, a much more conscious human race. I think that many of us, after warning from our mothers as we got in our childhood, and now warnings from the nature, we have understood the need of the hour, and therefore we see much more higher levels of understanding of the climate, of the environment, of the understanding of the importance of greenery on the planet. And I think with all of us together, we are going to be able to make this a better place for all of us to live in. So once again, my sincere thanks to UN Environment Program, my sincere program to UNEP for having organized this get together, where there are excellencies, there are dignitaries from all over the world who are all listening, who are all putting in their hearts into doing the best for our planet. I once again acknowledge your presence. I acknowledge the hard work that you put in. I express my gratitude for being part of this entire endeavor. And thank you so much for making me a part of it. Thank you so much. Jai Hind.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. Your inspiring words shall motivate us to further our actions so that we can create a sustainable, holistic society for all life on Earth. And thank you for that reminder that the onus is on us. And now I'd like to say we all depend on the planet's natural resources and biodiversity. And like the Honorable Minister also pointed out, today the perils of their reckless exploitation and damage are laid bare before us. Putting ecosystems at the center of development planning and managing natural resources in fair and accountable ways is the only way forward. Time has come to speed up the progress in achieving the Sustainable Development Goals and to create an equitable, prosperous, and sustainable society for all. On that note, I will now invite Mr. Amitabh Kant, CEO of Niti Aayog, who's going to address us. I request you, sir, to please enlighten our virtual gathering with your thoughts.
Distinguished guests, my very honorable ministers, Mr. Pokhriyal, Mr. Babul Supriyo, Renata Lok-Dessallien, Atul Bagai, my colleague, Mr. Gupta, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. Since 1974, we've been celebrating this as 5th June as the World Environment Day. And I'm truly delighted that this year's theme is Celebrate Diversity. It is highly relevant because human beings are all part of the ecosystem and we cannot survive in isolation. Biodiversity is vital for the survival of all living beings. The Intergovernmental Science Platform for Biodiversity and Ecosystem in its 2019 report had stated that over 1 billion plant and animal species are under threat of extinction in the coming decades. And the rate of extinction is hundreds of times more than the average of last 10 million years. This highlights that we are currently in the midst of 6th mass extinction. The last 5 extinctions were caused by catastrophic alterations to the environment. And these were massive volcanic eruptions, depletion of oceanic oxygen, or collision with an asteroid. This one is partially man-made. Increased human footprints has resulted in habitat loss, excessive hunting, introduction of invasive species into new ecosystem, toxic pollution, and climate change. In general, loss of biodiversity in a region can lead to very substantial decline in plant production. It can lower resistance to environmental perturbations such as drought, and increased variability in certain ecosystems such as plant productivity, water use, pest and disease cycles. In the Indian context, biodiversity is critical because India is one of the world's mega diversity countries. It contains over 7% of the world's biodiversity on just 2.5% of the Earth's surface. At the ecosystem level, India is also well endowed with distinct biogeographic zones, deserts, high mountains, highlands, tropical and temperate forests, mangroves, grasslands, areas surrounding rivers. We have the 4 biodiversity hotspots: the Himalayas, the Western Ghats, the Indo-Burma region, and the Andaman and Nicobar Islands. These hotspots have numerous endemic species. Sustainable practices to conserve this biodiversity is critical. It is fundamental to our agriculture, to our food production, and to our water security. To feed a growing population, agriculture must provide food. However, the focus should be on adopting sustainable practices that can both feed people and protect life in the forest, oceans, and other ecosystems that harbor biological diversity. In the Indian context, there are 2 critical issues. Our process of urbanization has just begun. The process of urbanization across USA and Europe is over. But in India, in the next 5 decades, we will see over 700 million Indians getting into the process of urbanization. If we were to follow the American or the European model of urbanization, the world would need 4 planet Earth. But unfortunately, we have, alas, only 1 planet Earth. And therefore, it is critical that our process of urbanization is very different, very distinct. It is based on carrying capacity. It is based on public transportation. It is based on regeneration of our water resources. And it is based on recycling of many of our products that we use in our daily lives. Secondly, the critical challenge for India will be the challenge of mobility. The Western world, as we see it, already has over 980 vehicles per 1,000 cars. In India, we just have 21 cars per 1,000 people. And therefore, again, if we were to follow the Western model of mobility, we will pollute the world. Our biodiversity will be severely damaged. And therefore, we need to make radical transformation towards sustainable models of mobility, particularly electric mobility. And this offers India a unique opportunity to push, to make technological level jumpings across several areas. And therefore, we must use technology to leapfrog so as to ensure sustainable practices and conserve biodiversity. And to my mind, this blend of biodiversity with technological quantum jumping would be critical to India's growth, progress, as well as sustainable development. So ladies and gentlemen, today is a unique day. The conservation of our rich biodiversity is critical for our environment. We must work together to improve sustainable management of biodiversity and also ensure that we also conserve, preserve, and ensure that we have adequate water resources. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you, sir. Your words will guide us into turning our resolve into action. Thank you very much. And with that, our Honorable Minister of State, Shri Babul Supriyo, is having to leave for some very important engagements. Thank you very much, sir, for gracing this occasion with your presence. Thank you so much once again. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to say with biodiversity as the theme for this World Environment Day, as we've been hearing, it would have been an opportune moment for all parents, teachers, and youth to actually be outdoors, learning and appreciating nature. But due to the lockdown and the adherence to the social distancing norms for curbing the spread of COVID-19, UNEP with TED-Ed decided to launch an online educational initiative in the new normal to bring nature in our homes. Ladies and gentlemen, I bring to you Earth School Adventure, an interactive and exciting online program for our children. Please watch this video. And it gives us great pleasure to announce that the Ministry of Human Resource and Development and the Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change too are supportive of the Earth School and would like all the students to be a part of Earth School. And at this juncture, it is my honor to once again welcome the Honorable Minister of MHRD, Ministry of Human Resource Development, Shri Ramesh Pokhriyal Nishankji, and I'm going to request him now to please address the children and share the gift of Earth School with all the children on Diksha, which is government's online teaching and learning portal. Honorable Minister, over to you.
विश्व पर्यावरण दिवस के इस महत्वपूर्ण कार्यक्रम में हमारे देश के पर्यावरण, वन और जलवायु परिवर्तन मंत्री बाबुल सुप्रियो जी, यूएनईपी सद्भावना राजदूत दिया मिर्जा जी, संयुक्त सचिव मंजू जी, संयुक्त राष्ट्र के समन्वयक भारत रेनाटा डेसलियन जी, सचिव वन पर्यावरण गुप्ता जी, अमिताभ कांत जी जो नीति आयोग के सीईओ हैं, रवि सिंह जी, और यहाँ पर जिन्होंने बहुत अच्छे तरीके से इसको आयोजित किया है और जो अभी अर्थ स्कूल की दिशा में जो लंबे समय से काम कर रहे हैं, यूएनईपी भारत के प्रमुख श्री अतुल बगई जी, और आज इस अवसर पर जुड़े देश और दुनिया के सभी पर्यावरण मित्र भाई और बहनों, मैं समझता हूं कि आज ये दिवस कई दृष्टि से महत्वपूर्ण है और इस दिवस की महत्ता, जबकि पूरा विश्व एक गहरे संकट से गुजर रहा है, पूरी मानवता कोविड-19 की महामारी से गुजर रही है, ऐसे वक्त पर पर्यावरण दिवस का महत्व और भी बढ़ जाता है। जो ये प्रकृति है, क्योंकि जो पृथ्वी है, ये पृथ्वी, बाबुल सुप्रियो ने ठीक ही कहा है कि पृथ्वी हमारी माँ है और यदि इस माँ का भाव सबके मन में होता तो बहुत सारी समस्याओं का समाधान हो गया होता। हमारे यहाँ कहा है माता भूमि पुत्रो अहम पृथिव्याः, ये जो पृथ्वी है ये हमारी माँ है और हम इसके पुत्र हैं। जब माँ और पुत्र का संबंध होता है तो मैं समझता हूँ कि एक दूसरे के संरक्षण, माँ के संरक्षण में जो पुत्र पलता है वो माँ का हमेशा ध्यान रखता है, और जब जब पुत्र ने माँ का ध्यान नहीं रखा तब तब जब प्रकृति के साथ समन्वय नहीं होता, क्योंकि हम प्रकृति और पृथ्वी की गोद में जन्म लेते हैं और उसी में हम समा जाते हैं। जब प्रकृति से हमारा समन्वय होता है, उसके पर्यावरण से, उसके जल, जंगल, जमीन और जन से जब बेहतर समन्वय होता है तो तब वो संस्कृति होती है। प्रकृति से बेहतर समन्वय संस्कृति है और संस्कृति जीवन की प्रेरणा है, और प्रकृति से विपरीत चलना वो विकृति है, और विकृति हमेशा विनाश का कारण होती है। इसीलिए अतिवृष्टि होती है, सुनामी आती है, भूस्खलन आता है, भूकंप आता है, पूरी दुनिया अजीबो गरीब स्थिति से होकर के गुजरती है। मैं अमिताभ कांत जी ने जिन उदाहरणों को अभी दिया है, क्योंकि हमारे यहाँ कहा था तेन त्यक्तेन भुंजीथा, आप उतना ही ग्रहण करिए जितना आपको चाहिए। ये संतुलन है। जब जब प्रकृति का संतुलन बिगड़ा है, तब तक प्रकृति ने कोई ना कोई ऐसा कारनामा किया है जो अपने आप धरती पर वो संतुलित हो जाता है, लेकिन उसकी क्षति, बहुत क्षति मानव को उठानी पड़ती है। और इसलिए ये मैं समझता हूँ कि ये जो पर्यावरण का दिन हम मना रहे हैं, ये धरती का ही दिन है और इसको मातृ दिवस के ही रूप में मनाना चाहिए। माँ की कितनी रक्षा हम कर सकते हैं, माँ के साथ कितना समन्वय कर सकते हैं, प्रकृति के साथ समन्वय करके जीवन जीने की कला जिस दिन आ जाएगी, उस दिन बहुत सारी समस्याओं का समाधान हो जाएगा। अभी हम पार्ट पार्ट में अध्ययन कर रहे हैं। ये एक आपदा आ गई तो उसी पर अध्ययन कर रहे हैं, दूसरी कोई कठिनाई त्रासदी आ गई उस पर अध्ययन कर रहे हैं। इसके जो मूल जड़ है, उस मूल जड़ का जब तक अध्ययन करके उसका समाधान नहीं निकलेगा, तब तक ये निरंतर घटनाएं भी घटेंगी, पृथ्वी पर मनुष्य त्राही त्राही मचाता रहेगा और समाधान की जगह विकृति आएगी। और इसलिए मैं समझता हूं कि आज का ये जो दिवस है, ये कई अर्थों में, चाहे हमारे वैज्ञानिक हैं, सामाजिक विज्ञान के लोग हैं, चाहे वो आध्यात्म क्षेत्र के लोग हैं, विभिन्न क्षेत्रों के लोग, पृथ्वी पर रहने वाला जो ईश्वर की सबसे सुंदरतम कृति है मनुष्य, इसका संरक्षण प्रकृति की गोद में खूबसूरत तरीके से कैसे हो सकता है, इस चिंतन की जरूरत है। क्योंकि हमारा देश भारत ये दुनिया का सबसे बड़ा लोकतांत्रिक देश है। ये बात सच है कि हम पर्यावरण की गहरी जड़ें हैं हमारे यहाँ। हमने तो वनों को, आग को, पृथ्वी को, वायु को, सबसे जीवन जोड़ा है हमने। हम अच्छे और किसी भी दिन की शुरुआत करते हैं, अच्छे कार्यक्रम की शुरुआत करते हैं तो सर्वे भवन्तु सुखिनः सर्वे सन्तु निरामय से करते हैं कि पृथ्वी पर जितने भी प्राणी हैं वो हमेशा सुखी रहें। हम क्योंकि पूरी पृथ्वी को, ये जो भारत का चिंतन है वो अयम निजः परोवेति गणना लघु चेतसाम उदार चरिता नाम तु वसुधैव कुटुम्बकम, पूरी वसुधा को अपना परिवार मानने वाला हिंदुस्तान, ये उसका जो भाव है, इस भाव को लेकर के आज भी जरूरत है कि आज इस दिशा में आगे जाएं। वो जो संस्कृति है जिसमें हमने वनों को अपने देवता के रूप में पूजा है, जिसमें जल को हमने माँ कह करके पुकारा है, जिसमें हमने जंगलों को अपना आधार बनाया है, जिसमें प्रकृति की गोद में जीना हमने सीखा है, ये जो प्रकृति का संरक्षण, संवर्धन, ये मूल कड़ी है किसी भी व्यक्ति के जीवन की, किसी भी संसार के, किसी भी देश की, किसी भी समाज की। अब मैं समझता हूं कि 2018 में स्विट्जरलैंड में जब हमारे प्रधानमंत्री श्री नरेंद्र मोदी जी ने जो विश्व आर्थिक मंच पर जिस बात के लेकर के चिंता की थी, वो 2-3 बातें थी। एक तो विश्व के लिए आतंकवाद, और विश्व में जो बदलता मौसम का जो परिवर्तन है, ये पर्यावरण है। ये 2 चुनौती पूरी दुनिया के लिए बहुत महत्वपूर्ण है। और इन दोनों चुनौतियों में से ये जो चुनौती है, क्योंकि यदि प्रकृति ठीक रहेगी तो आदमी का मन भी ठीक रहेगा, आदमी का मन ठीक रहेगा तो मन और तन, ये 2 प्रकृति ही ठीक करती है। मन ठीक नहीं है तब भी बेकार हो गई पूरी दुनिया उसके लिए, और यदि तन ठीक नहीं है तब भी उसके लिए पूरी दुनिया बेकार हो गई। और इसीलिए हमारे यहाँ आयुषो हो वेदा आयुर्वेदा, ये भारत में योग, आयुर्वेद, ये इस तरीके का था जब तन और मन को ठीक रखने का और प्रकृति से बेहतर सामंजस्य स्थापित करने का एक अद्भुत अनुभव इस देश में रहा है हमेशा। और मैं ये समझता हूं, तभी तो हमने कहा सतो मा सद्गमयः मृत्योर्मा ज्योतिर्गमय तमसो मा ज्योतिर्गमय और मृत्यु मा अमृतम गमय, मृत्यु से भी अमरता की ओर और अंधकार से प्रकाश की ओर जाने का यह हमारा लक्ष्य रहा है। और ये लक्ष्य हमने ऐसे ही नहीं पाया है, हमने सारे विश्व के मानव को, इस व्यक्ति को, ओ सहिना भवतु सहिनो भुनक्तु सह वीर्यम करवावहे तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहे, यह हम लोगों ने कहा हम साथ साथ करेंगे, हम पुरुषार्थ भी साथ साथ करेंगे, हम साथ जिएंगे, हम साथ चलेंगे, हम बांट करके खाएंगे, हम मिल करके चलेंगे। ये साथ में पुरुषार्थ करने की जो ये परंपरा है, ये संस्कृति, ये संस्कार है, ये जो जीवन जीने की प्रेरणा है, आज इस महामारी के समय पूरी दुनिया के लोगों के सामने मुंह मांगे सामने खड़ी है। और आज लोगों को महसूस होता है कि हाँ, इस संस्कृति की और उस प्रकृति की इसकी जरूरत है, जिसको भारत ने आज भी कायम किया हुआ है। मैं दुनिया के सभी हमारे पर्यावरण मित्र हैं और जो इस क्षेत्र में काम कर रहे हैं, मैं अपने छात्रों से भी इस अवसर पर कहना चाहता हूं, क्योंकि ये दुनिया का सबसे बड़ा लोकतांत्रिक देश है और शैक्षणिक क्षेत्र का बहुत व्यापक है, जिसमें 1000 से अधिक विश्वविद्यालय हैं, जिस देश के अंदर 15 लाख से अधिक स्कूल हैं, जिस देश के अंदर 1 करोड़ से अधिक अध्यापक हैं और जिस देश के अंदर 33 करोड़ से भी अधिक छात्र छात्राएं हैं। मैं समझता हूं अमेरिका की कुल शायद आबादी इतनी नहीं होगी जितनी कि इस देश में छात्र छात्राएं हैं। मैं इसलिए अपने इस अवसर पर मैं अपने सभी छात्र छात्राओं से भी अपील करना चाहता हूं, वो अपने परिवार के, ये देश नहीं पूरी दुनिया के छात्र छात्राओं से मैं अपील करना चाहता हूं कि आप इसकी लीडरशिप अपने हाथ में लीजिए। मुझे अच्छा सा अनुभव है मानव संसाधन विकास मंत्रालय में, जब हमने 131 स्टूडेंट किया था, एक छात्र एक पेड़ लगाएगा, तो व्यापक तरीके से न केवल उसका स्वागत हुआ बल्कि छात्रों ने आगे आकर के अपने अपने एक पेड़ लगाया। और अब हमने तय कर दिया कि अपने जन्म दिवस के अवसर पर हर छात्र एक पेड़ लगाएगा और उसका संरक्षण स्वयं करेगा। जब दूसरा जन्मदिन उसका आएगा तब पीछे के पेड़ का चित्र लगा करके फिर एक नया पेड़ वो लगा करके उसको हम जो हमारी नई शिक्षा नीति है, कोशिश कर रहे हैं हम ऐसे उसको हम पाठ्यक्रम का भी हिस्सा बनाएं। मुझे मालूम है कि 1 करोड़ से भी अधिक वृक्षारोपण किया था और वो वृक्ष ऐसे हैं जो निश्चित रूप में जो संरक्षित रहेंगे, केवल लगाएंगे नहीं। उनसे एक बच्चा, जब मैंने उससे पूछा कि क्या है टेलीफोन पर, ना वो जो मेरा पेड़ है ना उसको मैं हमेशा मिल करके आता हूँ घर से, जब स्कूल से छुट्टी होती है तो मैं उसको सबसे पहले मिलता हूँ। और मेरी माँ ने कहा है ये मुस्कुराएगा तो जिंदगी मुस्कुराएगी और ये मुरझाएगा तो जिंदगी मुरझाएगी। ये जो बच्चे के मन के अंदर ये भावना आएगी, जिस व्यक्ति के मन के अंदर ये भावना आएगी, तो मैं समझता हूँ बहुत सारी ये जो समस्याएं हैं जो नित नए रूप में हमारे सामने आ रहे हैं, इन समस्याओं का समाधान होगा। मुझे इस बात की खुशी है कि जब मैं उत्तराखंड के मुख्यमंत्री के रूप में मुझे काम करने का अवसर मिला था, तो जो हिमालय और उत्तराखंड है वो पर्यावरण की पहली पाठशाला है। उस समय हम लोगों ने 2-3 प्रकार के काम किए थे। हिमनद प्राधिकरण बनाया था। हमको लगता था कि हिम नदों का संरक्षण पूरी दुनिया के लिए जरूरी है, क्योंकि ये हिमालय एशिया का वाटर टावर है, इसलिए हमने हिमनद प्राधिकरण बनाया। दूसरी तरफ गंगा और यमुना के संरक्षण के लिए स्पर्श गंगा अभियान चलाया कि ये जो नदियां उसमें जुड़ने वाली जितनी भी जल धाराएं हैं वो यूथ को जोड़ा, छात्रों को जोड़ा, वो हर रविवार को जाएं, गंगा के पानी कैसे निर्मल रह सकता है, वो कैसे और समृद्धता उसमें हो सकती है, एक अभियान के रूप में लें। हम लोगों ने वनीकरण के उसमें वन पंचायत 12,500 वन पंचायत आज भी उत्तराखंड के अंदर है। मैं समझता हूँ दुनिया के लिए बेहतर एक मॉडल है उत्तराखंड, जहां चिपको आंदोलन की प्रणेता गौरा देवी का जन्म हुआ वो उत्तराखंड पर्यावरण की दृष्टि से 12,500 वन पंचायतें हैं जो एक दूसरे से लोगों, सरकार और लोगों के, गांव के लोगों के संयुक्त प्रबंधन में वो चलते हैं। लोग अपने वनों को अपने बच्चों की तरह पालते हैं। तो मैं ये समझता हूं कि ये जो पर्यावरण है, ये जो सुरक्षा है, एक छात्र 1 लीटर पानी बचाने का भी हमने पीछे के दिनों जो अभियान लिया था उसमें भी हमको बहुत सफलता मिली है। इसलिए मैं छात्रों से कहना चाहता हूँ, प्रिय छात्रों, प्रिय विद्यार्थियों, पूरी देश और दुनिया के यूथ, मेरे यंग लीडर जितने भी हैं, मैं आपको आह्वान करना चाहता हूँ, जरूरत है इस समय आपके उस विजन की, जरूरत है आपके उस मिशन की, जरूरत है प्रकृति के संरक्षण की, जरूरत है अपनी संस्कृति के साथ प्रकृति का समन्वय की, ताकि एक नया आयाम हम स्थापित करें और जो हमारे सामने ये सारी चीजें खड़ी हो रही हैं इसका हम समाधान कर सकें। और इसलिए जो अभी आपने कहा कि हम लोग ऑनलाइन शिक्षा दे रहे हैं, हम दीक्षा पोर्टल पर कर रहे हैं। दीक्षा पोर्टल पर हम इन सब चीजों को डालना चाहते हैं। अभी मैं अतुल जी को कहना चाहूंगा, अतुल बगई जी को, पीछे के दिनों में जब आप मिले थे तब भी हमारी बहुत सारी बातचीत हुई थी और हमारे अमिताभ कांत जी हमसे जुड़े हुए हैं, नीति आयोग के सीईओ हैं। हम लोग समय समय पर हम लोग कोशिश भी कर रहे हैं कि किस तरीके से हम इस अभियान को आगे बढ़ाएंगे। हम लोग ऑनलाइन में दीक्षा पोर्टल है, ई पाठशाला है, हमारा स्वयं प्रभा है। इसके माध्यम से हम देश के 33 करोड़ से भी अधिक छात्र छात्राओं को एक प्लेटफॉर्म पर लाए हैं। हमारे प्रधानमंत्री जी नरेंद्र मोदी जी ने कहा ये सशक्त भारत चाहिए, लेकिन कैसा भारत चाहिए? जो स्वच्छ भारत हो, स्वस्थ भारत हो, समृद्ध भारत हो, सशक्त भारत हो, एक भारत हो, श्रेष्ठ भारत हो। उस श्रेष्ठ भारत की परिकल्पना इसी रास्ते से होकर के गुजरती है। मैं आप सबके प्रति बहुत आभारी हूँ कि आपने मुझे याद किया और ऐसे अवसर पर ये जो स्कूल, वो भी पृथ्वी का स्कूल, अर्थ स्कूल, ये पृथ्वी माने जो हमारी माँ है, और उस माँ को समझना, उस माँ की गोद में बैठ करके उसका संरक्षण करना, मैं समझता हूँ कि आज के दिन की ये सबसे बड़ी उपलब्धि होगी कि हर व्यक्ति इस स्कूल को पढ़े। बच्चा ही नहीं, छात्र ही नहीं, जो 100 वर्ष का भी है वो भी बच्चा है माँ के लिए। इस पृथ्वी पर पैदा हुआ है तो वो बच्चे के समान है। इसलिए मैं एक बार फिर आप सबको, अपने शिक्षकों को, और जो शिक्षकों का विशेष प्रयास रहा है इस दिशा में, और शिक्षकों को, अभिभावकों को और छात्रों को इस अवसर पर मैं बहुत सारी शुभकामना देना चाहता हूं। और आप सभी के सुझाव होंगे तो उन सुझावों को भी आप लाएंगे। शिक्षा की गुणवत्ता में सुधार और प्रौद्योगिकी का उपयोग इस दीक्षा में हम लोग कर रहे हैं। एक बार फिर मैं आप सबके प्रति आभारी हूं और आप सबका बहुत अभिनंदन करता हूं। बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद।
बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद आपका माननीय मंत्री महोदय जी। शिक्षा में दुनिया बदलने की शक्ति होती है और उसे संवारने की भी, और आपने अपने प्रोत्साहन भरे शब्दों से हम सभी को प्रेरित किया है, तो बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद। और अब माननीय मंत्री महोदय लॉन्च भी कर रहे हैं अर्थ स्कूल को दीक्षा सरकार के ऑनलाइन टीचिंग और लर्निंग पोर्टल पर, तो बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद आपका ऑनरेबल मिनिस्टर। और I'd like to inform, in fact, bring to the attention to the virtual gathering that I'm sure all our children are registering for the Earth School as we speak. So let us now hear the children's voices and enjoy their excitement about the Earth School.
Hi, I'm Athar. I'm 5 years old. I love Earth School movies, like bugs, like insects, like clouds.
I'm Dia Mirza from class 6. I am an Earth School student. I learned about the different species of insects. Before 10,000 BC, people used to eat insects. And surprisingly, insects have lots of protein and iron, which is healthy for us. I enjoyed the video a lot.
Hi everyone, my name is Reva Malhotra. I study in 5th grade. I have been following the Earth School page for the past 1 week and it's so amazing. My favorite video was, can we eat bugs?
Do you know the tallest mountain on Earth? Mount Everest? No. In fact, the tallest mountain is inside the ocean called Mauna Kea, which is 1300 meters higher than the Mount Everest. From the Earth School, I've learned that our ocean has features like waterfalls, mountains inside it.
I am Harshit Khan. I was introduced to Earth School and I have learned a lot about our nature. I have seen videos, solved quests on a variety of topics. It has helped me understand my role in the environment and inspired me to take part in its conservation.
Hello, I'm Aditya Mukherjee, a 16-year-old student. I heard about the TED-Ed Earth School from the UNEP. I've been able to complete over 3.5 weeks of this Earth School. This Earth School is not based on the principle of assessing students, but to enable them to learn more about the environment in a fun, informative, animated way.
The Earth School videos have really made me think. Now, before buying a t-shirt, thoughts like, how much water went into the making of this t-shirt? Am I being ecologically responsible by buying this? And do I really need this? Don't I have enough already? Come to my mind. Every season, people change their wardrobe, discarding clothes from the previous season which end up in landfills. So, next time you're about to buy a t-shirt, remind yourself, clothes aren't going to change the world. The people who wear them are.
And now, the Honorable Minister of Environment, Forest and Climate Change, Government of India, Shri Prakash Javadekar ji, was unable to join us virtually due to some unavoidable engagements. However, he has been kind enough to ensure that we all benefit from his wise words, and he sent us a recorded message. Ladies and gentlemen, let's hear a special message on the occasion of World Environment Day 2020 from the Honorable Minister, Shri Prakash Javadekar ji.
All the dignitaries on dais and off the dais, now it's a new normal to have virtual programs. As such, this World Environment Day is being celebrated all over the world, practically through virtual programs. 2020 is a critical year for biodiversity and was being seen as a super year for nature because of the key international meetings, but which now stand postponed or will be conducted virtually. Biodiversity is very important. The theme of this Environment Day is biodiversity. And India is a unique position. We have only 2.5% of the world landmass, and we have 16% world's population and world's cattle and human population. Both require land, food and water. And we have only 4% of fresh rainwater resources of the world. But still we have 8% of the biodiversity. Why this happens? This happens because Indian culture is in sync with nature, cares for nature, and probably this is the only country which worships nature. Actually, trees, reptiles, animals, birds are all worshipped in our country. This is Indian culture. And we have a very cherished history of a community sacrificing 350 people for protecting the forest. This is how India is different than many other countries. We have a very strong ecology with nearly 4,000 tigers, thousands of lions, 30,000 elephants, 3,000 single-horn rhinos, crocodiles, and all species. This is a proud legacy of India. And therefore, our biodiversity is enriched. I think that if we take care of the nature, nature will take care of us. What today we are experiencing in COVID-19 also represents overexploitation of many species, which increases the risk of zoonotic disease pandemics. And that's a reality. So in the end, I'll say, now we can support, encourage, catalyze, and reward the inclusive green transition towards coexistence and self-reliance and raise productivity of natural resources. We can incentive schemes for promotion of new champion sector such as solar PV manufacturing be linked with the sectors such as healthcare and leverage for generation of scalable green jobs. So there are n number of possibilities. Our Prime Minister has given a clarion call for zero effect, zero defect. That is basically environment-friendly production processes. We can work towards strengthening livelihoods. Our policies for MSMEs, credit packages, liquidity infusion, and investment measures announced recently are aimed at significant revival of industry. Can they be used for creation of local green enterprises? Yes. And therefore, India is participating in the World Environment Day's program on biodiversity enthusiastically. All the best. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. In his words, India is in sync with nature and cares about nature. We have laid down our lives to protect nature. And a country like India, I'd say, has the caliber to take the lead in environment conservation and sustainability and set an example for the world to follow. I thank you, Honorable Minister, for your encouraging message. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, I would now take the privilege of requesting Mr. Atul Bagai, Head, UN Environment Program, Country Office, India, to express the vote of thanks on behalf of the United Nations Environment Program. Sir, please.
Thank you. On behalf of our Executive Director, Inger Anderson, I would like to thank each and everyone who has been part of this program. My special thanks go to our UNEP's Goodwill Ambassador, Dia Mirza, who's been an inspiration for us, not only for this program, but also for all the work which we have done over the last 3 years in India. Our partner, Ministry of Environment, Forests and Climate Change, I'm extremely thankful to the Honorable Minister and the Minister of State, Prakash Javadekar ji, and Babul Supriyo ji, the Secretary, RP Gupta ji, Manju Pandey ji, who's really been our guiding force for bringing this program together, and all the other staff officers in the ministry who have really lent their support to this program today, and also of UNEP setting up their office in India. My thanks go especially to Renata, UN Resident Coordinator, who has inspired us, who leads us and tries to bring all the UN agencies together, and the number of programs that all the UN agencies are doing today for the World Environment Day are largely because of her guidance. I would like to especially thank some of our partners, WWF, Ravi and his team, who's put together the Stand with Nature, which is a unique initiative. Thanks a lot, Ravi. Our inspiration in this regard has also been Amitabh Kanji, who heads the Niti Aayog, and with whose organization UNEP is working very closely on a variety of initiatives. Thanks a lot, Amitabh ji, for bringing out some amazing facts about biodiversity loss today. I would also like to give a very special and heartfelt thanks to Ramesh Pokhriyal ji, the Honorable Minister for Human Resource Development, who really has taken this initiative to greater heights of bringing Earth School onto the Diksha portal. And it was entirely his vision and his guidance and his inspiration that led to this amazing collaboration between the Ministry of Environment and also the Ministry of HRD and UNEP. And we'll certainly take it to bigger lengths. And there are many people who have worked on the backstage in this regard. My special thanks to Arushini Shangji and Secretary Secondary Education Anita ji for this. Thanks a lot for participating in this program today, and we would all be working together to make ourselves safer and to make our biodiversity and ecosystem a much more stronger element of Mother Earth. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed, sir, for extending that warm word of thanks. And ladies and gentlemen, it is only evident after hearing all our eminent speakers that we humans have been progressing with eyes wide shut to the magnitude of harm we are causing to our planet. It is high time that we wake up. It is time that we get our act together, because it is time for nature. Let's all watch this special video now.
Now more than ever, we are confronted with the fragility of life and our connection to nature and our planet. Nature is showing us that humankind is on the verge of a breakdown. At least 1 million plant and animal species are likely to disappear soon. We are on the verge of a mass extinction unlike anything humankind has ever seen. We rely on nature for our energy, for our food, and everything we need. We can fix this, but only if we act now. It's time to ensure we have a future. It's time for nature.
Wake up.
Wake up.
Wake up.
This World Environment Day.
This World Environment Day. Tell the world why it's time for nature.
It's time to show our leaders why nature matters.
Together or apart.
Juntos o separados.
Рядом или на расстоянии.
We will unite to make our voices heard.
We won't back down. We will not back down.
So we see real and lasting change to support this beautiful planet we call home.
Y reconectarnos emocionalmente con la naturaleza.
Tag your friends and leaders of corporations, companies, and governments.
To invite them to be part of the solution. We need the planet more than the planet needs us.
Your planet, my planet.
It's time for nature.
It's time for nature.
It's time for nature.
Llegó la hora de la naturaleza.
And with that, UNEP invites you now, after the conclusion of this inaugural session of World Environment Day 2020, to a panel discussion. And this panel discussion is themed Investing in Nature for Building Back Better. This is the first in the series of webinars, which will engage eminent experts to share knowledge and discuss the significance of biodiversity conservation and ways to mobilize investments in the aftermath of the COVID pandemic. Collectively, these webinars will help in identifying ways to bring to forefront issues related to India's unique biodiversity and natural resources. And I'd like to express my gratitude to all the partners who are supporting this series. Now I'd like to request Ms. Mahua Acharya, Asia Director, Climate Policy Institute, to please take over and moderate this pertinent discussion. Ms. Mahua Acharya.
Thank you. I've just switched on my video and my mic. Thank you very much. Firstly, let me thank UNEP. Let me thank Atul Bagai and all of his colleagues who've invited me to moderate this panel. I must also firstly congratulate UNEP for putting up this really nice event. I logged in at 11 o'clock, and it's really nice to see this kind of commitment. So thank you once again, and congratulations for getting this so well done. I'm just looking up at my screen to see if the rest of my panel members are here. And I think, yes, I can see all of them. Let me introduce the panel. Let me introduce the panelists. But before that, just a couple of housekeeping points. My apologies that we're starting late. This thing ran over, and I know that many of you, if not all of you, were at the previous event. We will run this for about 75 minutes. I've been advised that the room will stay open. And for all of you, for others who are attending and the participants, I see 145 on my screen. Maybe there are more. If you have, we'll take questions on this event. There's a little Q&A thing at the bottom of your screen, which I will keep an eye on, and I'll look for those questions. In the interest of time, I might take those questions at the end. Let me start with first introducing the panelists. Firstly, I want to thank you all for being at this event. Thank you all for agreeing to comment on some of the questions. You would have seen the questions that I attempted yesterday. I've got feedback from some of you. We have Dia Mirza. I know she needs no introduction. It's really nice to see you here, Dia. She's an actress, of course. She now focuses on producing and environmental activism. She's a UN Environment Goodwill Ambassador for India, Brand Ambassador for the Wildlife Trust of India, Artist Ambassador for Save the Children India, Eco Ambassador for Panasonic, and sits on the board of the Coca-Cola India Foundation. Very nice to have you here, Dia, and I look forward to hearing more from you. We have Mr. Ravi Singh. He is the CEO of WWF India. You would have heard him in the previous panel as well. Mr. Ravi Singh is the Secretary General and CEO of WWF since 2003, so many years ago. Prior to the appointment, he was a banker with Deutsche Bank. When I was asking UNEP to give me some guidance on your bios to make sure that I don't miss some of the biggest things, I have a note that says, amongst many things, that your professional achievements in the corporate sector, of course, are many and varied. But as I was also told that your interest in the conservation of nature is what you hold most dear. So thank you for that. Thank you for coming to this panel. OP Agarwal is the CEO of WRI India. I don't see OP on my screen, but I hope he will.
I'm here. I'm on screen.
Here you are. Here you are. Sorry, my screen, I think this Zoom, I only see a certain number at a time. He's the CEO of WRI India. And prior to joining WRI, he was the executive director at the Indian School of Business. He's a very well-respected thinker, practitioner with a whole lot of experience in cities, urban transport, climate, and other development-related issues. He served as a member of the IAS from 1979 to 2007. It's really nice to have you here, Mr. Agarwal, and I look forward to hearing from you. We have Mr. Keshav Verma. Yes, I can see Keshav here. Mr. Verma has 4 decades of experience as a civil servant before he joined the World Bank as a sector director. And Mr. Verma held senior positions at the head of the Global Urban Program at the World Bank Institute, program director of the Global Tiger Initiative of the World Bank, a partnership of 13 tiger range countries and international partners on the conservation of wild tigers. Mr. Verma serves as advisor to the government of UP, and the state government of Gujarat recently appointed him as the chairman of the Sabarmati Riverfront Development Corporation. Welcome once again, Mr. Verma. I look forward. And we have Mr. Pushpam Kumar. He's a senior economic advisor for the UN Environment Program. He is a report director for economics of land degradation, coordinates the Inclusive Wealth Report, and provides analytical approaches for planetary and human health. He is also the report director for the economics of ecosystems and biodiversity in Agri-Food Foundation report. So we have a really, really solid panel, and I look forward to engaging with the audience. Once again, please feel free to send in your questions. I will be monitoring this Q&A bar, and I'll hold on to the questions till the very end. So let's start with Dia. Let me ask you, Dia, if in all your years acting, in your years with working with celebrities, and over your very rich experience in this world of sustainability, in world of biodiversity, nature conservation, what would you say if I were to say, what can celebrities do to mobilize action towards biodiversity management and or the environment in general? So putting all your experience together, what would you say they can do? Can you also share with us some success stories, some nice things, things that went well?
Of course, thank you, Mahua. I think celebrities play a very key role in bringing about human behavioral change and in advocating for environmental consciousness and environmental measures and living sustainable lives. But it starts with understanding it at an individual level first. So there is no way one can be an advocate for change if one doesn't understand how important it is and integral it is to change at an individual level. Mm-hmm. When I started out working with wildlife protection organizations, NGOs in the country, and I started working with the Sanctuary Nature Foundation, which was called Sanctuary Asia at the time, and the Kids for Tigers program back in 2005 or 6. And I was a part of many advocacy campaigns, interacting with children in schools and traveling across the country, meeting them. There's a lot that I learned from these interactions that I think in many ways has defined my life purpose and has also altered and shaped the person that I'm becoming. As I have increased my exposure to scientists, people in environmental protection, wildlife conservation and protection, I have had the good fortune now, because of my role with the United Nations Environment Programme and as an SDGs advocate to the Secretary General, I've had the opportunity to engage and interact with some of the brightest, the best, the most wonderful minds on the planet. And all of these interactions have helped me make better personal choices. I think what I can happily celebrate is the success of some of our school programs like Kids for Tigers, the success of the school engagement and programs that the Wildlife Trust of India has had, where we've engaged with over 23 lakh children across the country. The fact that we find ways to the fact that we had one of the most successful programs on a campaign that we were running with Wildlife Trust of India called #Rite of Passage, the Gaj Yatra, where we successfully managed to bring India's heritage animal, the elephant, center of focus and attention, and highlighted the fact for the need for our wildlife. Starting, of course, we use the iconic elephant as an example, but when you give rite of passage to the elephant to use the migratory paths that it has been following for millions of years that have now been disrupted by human establishments and human interference with those areas that link their pathways. The entire campaign, the focus of the campaign, the kind of engagement it created, the kind of media awareness it created, kind of policy response it has enabled, the kind of donations that we were able to garner for the campaign have been, in my mind, a big win. Of course, the World Environment Day theme and the fact that India was host for World Environment Day in 2018, and we had the Beat Plastic Pollution campaign, which led to the momentous and very important declaration by the Prime Minister announcing that India would become single-use plastics free by 2022, was in my mind a very big win. I think when we speak of civil society's engagement and participation in environmental action, I feel celebrities have some role to play, and I'm grateful that I've had the opportunity to garner some momentum in this regard. But I do also have to include, Mohua, that when I started out, I felt very alone. There weren't very many people in my industry, my fraternity, who were participating or even understanding the urgency of environmental activism and consciousness and awareness. But I have to admit that in the last few years, there has been a significant shift. And I think that the significant shift has happened not just because we've been relentless with the work we've been doing and the engagements we've managed to create. I think technology has a very big role to play in building that awareness. But I also feel that it is civil society and the incredible actions that they have led on the ground that has led towards more people who are popular or in the public space to become more active, proactive citizens of the planet. So whether it is hashtag the traveling bottle plastic bottles, or it is fashion more sustainable, all of this has required a great amount of effort and partnerships. And I think that people in the media, people in public who are prominent in public discourse have been an integral part of this change and this transformation.
Thank you for that, Dia. Thank you so much. That came from the heart. I can just, I empathize with some of it. I have a degree in environmental management, and I did this during a time where you were supposed to do medical sciences or law or engineering. These were the three only respectable professions. And I almost had to lie to my parents and never name the degree. I just said I'm going off to do graduate school in the US. And I must say, it's been 20 years, but there was a time that I would keep looking to find data points to legitimize my professional choice. Thank you very much for your sincerity, Dia.
Thank you.
Let's move on. There are some questions coming along, but I can see them and I'm keeping an eye on them because so I know how to spread the questions to you all on the panel. There are some pretty tough ones, so I'm going to keep them hidden for a while. Let's go to Mr. Ravi Singh. Mr. Singh, you've been a banker for many years before you decided to, I can't say switch, but let's assume for a minute that you had two passions. And so before your tenure at WWF began. So if I were to ask you now, to ask an investment banking kind of, investment/banking kind of question, how would you suggest that we, that is in India, reinvest in biodiversity?
So I'll take it from two sides. One is maybe from the financial sector side, and the other more social and environmental.
Sure.
In terms of investing in biodiversity, the first thing any structured institution like a corporate or an association of businesses needs to do is to invest in knowledge and to understand what it means, to sometimes simplify the terminology that goes with our sector, sometimes complicated, difficult to explain to normal people, and really understand what is it that they are doing, which perhaps is an antithesis of protection or sustainability, or which could be changed with very little effort, or even with sustained effort, where investments are required, but over a period of time, this would be beneficial to society, to their customers, to their suppliers, etc., etc. So two parts to it. One is that from a financial point of view, a lot of the outlay in terms of projects, in terms of supplier chains, and in terms of implementation of, let's say, development, infrastructure development, etc. If we were to bring in a small quotient of environmental, being good to the environment, taking care of it, using the right materials in the processes, reducing the footprint, even these issues could make a big difference. And never think that it's a large investment related question. There was a time when we had an initiative for information technology companies all across the world, where a pledge was taken that we will undertake small actions to reduce the amount of energy that we'll use, and so many million tons of carbon or so many units of energy will be saved. And it was a simple thing like putting a sleep timing on the computer, on using software in whatever device that you have, which would use that much less energy while computing, and therefore over a period of time would accumulate to a lot of savings. But more importantly, the usage of this concept that we will have sustainability as a part of our clearance system, where we look at investment related decisions. Are we using the right materials? Are we taking the right decisions? Are we destroying something which we can never replace? I mean, obviously connectivities, rivers, forest systems, oceans, etc. And these are very controversial aspects when it comes to it, because on one side lies profit and return, on the other side lies the future of our ecosystems. From a other point of view, from another side of view, society, customers, society, which is going to influence the future, younger generations, need to be guided as to how they would invest in themselves in terms of knowledge. That to understand the world of the elephant that Dia mentioned and what it represents. It's not just a heritage animal. It represents a grassland. It represents a vast area which it roams. You cannot have bound it by way of having a geographical entity by itself. Elephants were found all over India, not so far back. So to understand this, to understand the value of such ecosystems, and to build that knowledge, from this knowledge about our rivers, our Himalayas, our oceans, our forests will come action. What is it that I can do? What my cohort can do? What can my class do? What can my cricket team do by making a statement and getting this entire stadium of people influenced towards this particular aspect? Other thing, we always talk about using nature for purposes of, using it as production, using it for purposes of extraction and so on and so forth. Two examples I give. One, when you fish in the oceans, barring a very small area of the earth where oceans are and fishery happens, all the extraction is actually from wild caught fish. And all these fish, all this marine production comes from a natural system. We are not adding anything into it, barring one or two areas of the earth. Everywhere, it's just we are using the spawn, we're using the seasons, and hoping things will work, and we'll get more and more food to eat as a result of that. This can't sustain itself. We got to run out of this. Second, overexploitation of nature and wildlife, overexploitation of certain species. And there is an argument that is being built up across different fora, where it says that the present COVID-19 emergency that we are facing is because of the fact that rather than investing in nature, we have actually consumed wildlife. And that consumption has led to the virulence of this particular virus. So on one side lies the great things we are talking of today on world environment. What we can do, what is the action, what we can do to improve. The other side lies this huge threat that is ahead of us. And the only thing that can improve this is knowledge. Knowledge in investment banking, knowledge in financial sector, knowledge with people, knowledge with students, and knowledge of people who are represented in this particular forum. That's a little long-winded statement to you. I'll just say one other thing. A lot of us are close to species, and we like, species to represent our emotive side of nature. Look at the incident in Kerala with an elephant today. How many people have got involved in it, and the kind of things that we are looking at to prevent such things from happening. Everyone talks about what they can do, or what they did, or what they formed this forum, did this, and we had this campaign, etc. Very few people actually think on behalf of the elephant or the tiger. What was its thinking? What happened? Where did it go? Now, this kind of intuitive and other knowledge is something that will bring us closer to nature. I'll stop here. Thank you.
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Singh. You've actually raised a number of questions that I will at least save for a bit, and I may end up abusing my role as a moderator to jump over some of the other questions. But they're very linked. But thank you for that. I especially like your comment on investing in knowledge, because it is in my years. Most of my professional career has been in the finance business. Has been trying to use the mainstreams of finance to environmental goals. And the one thing that one comes up with every single time is all of this environmental stuff is looked at as happy teddy bear and oh so sweet, and actually pretty risky if you were to put a screen on it. And I don't think we've come out of that yet. And I'm not sure we are even on a pathway to coming out of that. So I'll stop for a bit. I've got a couple of questions around some of the things that you said and others as well. Let me actually go straight over to OP Agarwal. Mr. Agarwal, you've had many thinking hats, if I can call it that, and a lot of experience in a number of very substantial kind of sectors, and substantial meaning the bearing on our environment is very deep. So like many other sectors in the country, in this is, let me try and contextualize it, that right now, post-lockdown, or even coming out of lockdown in some cases, agriculture, has been very badly hit. Exports, supply chains have been affected, just jobs, livelihood, very basic stuff. So if I were to say, well, what would be, if I were to say, what are the 3 things that you think need to happen now quite immediately to rescue this sector? What would they be?
Thanks, Mahua. Let me try and respond to what I think really should happen in the agricultural sector, given the kind of problems they are facing right now. I mean, if I look at the problems, I think the biggest problem is a demand problem. With a lot of cities, restaurants closed, the demand from the hotels coming down, there is a huge demand problem. And I want to sort of start by giving you one small example of what I had faced when I was a young district collector many years ago in Assam. I'm talking of 1988, 1989. And this district was known for, very good production of fruits and vegetables, particularly vegetables. One particular part of that, very good vegetables. And the word I got was farmers are extremely unhappy. They are really suffering. And I said, why? Because there's no drought. In fact, to the best of my knowledge, they've had a bumper crop. So I decided to go down, talk to some of them. And what they told me is, we've got a very good crop, but there's no one to buy it. Tomatoes, excellent tomatoes. They said, take them away. Take as much as you want. Take it away. There's no buyers. We don't know how to transport it. It's a perishable. It won't stay for too long. So, these are problems that people don't often realize, that the supply chains are extremely important for farmers to get their produce going. If we don't have the right kind of supply chains, it's stuck on their farms. They're taking all the risk. Now, to my mind, the recent amendments that have been made in the farm sector in terms of, allowing farmers to sell it to whoever they want and not being stuck with the local agricultural marketing society, and also getting them off the Essential Commodities Act. These are very good changes that have happened. They are in the right direction, but just making those changes are not enough. We really need to start looking at supply chains right from the farm to the fork. How will these supply chains function? How will transport links be established? How will warehouses be set up? How will cold chains be set up? So that the kind of loss that we have in transporting food or moving food, that loss comes down. Some studies that WRI has done really shows that a huge chunk of our food is getting lost. And food loss is really a contributor to climate change. If you want to produce more food, it's either produce more food or prevent food from getting wasted. And in countries like India, developing countries like India, a lot of the waste is happening upstream. A lot of the waste in developed countries is probably happening downstream. Now, when you were studying in the US and you ordered a burger, it came with so many more, so much of French fries and so much of salad that you couldn't finish it all. That was waste. In India, a lot of the waste is happening upstream. How do we prevent that kind of waste? And if that we can manage those supply chains, I think that's a big thing for farmers. That's one. The second thing I would say is, in situations like this, and particularly at a time when migrants who came into cities are going back to their villages and are going to be thinking 5 times on whether they want to go back to the cities, you are going to have more people in the rural areas with some kind of a deficit in the urban areas. Is this a kind of time to think in terms of some degree of food processing, decentralized food processing, to be happening closer to the farms? And that either processed or semi-processed food gets transported to the cities and maybe gets branded and marketed here, but at least some part of the processing to happen there itself, so that the loss in transportation comes down. I think these are 2 major things that can be done. I would also say a certain degree of capacity building of farmers locally. Remember one thing, the farmer is, in the entire food chain, the farmer is the one person who's taking all the risk. So if there's a drought, he's taken the risk. If there's no rainfall, he's taken the risk. If inputs that are supposed to come to him haven't reached in time, he's taken the risk. If his harvest is not picked up, he's taken the risk. Can we reduce the risk for the farmer by having other players in the supply chain also taking some component of the risk? And can we think of the farmer as a worker who's produced the food, but the responsibility for a whole lot of other things rests with other members in the supply chain? Let me leave it at that. But I think these are some of the things that can go towards improving the lot of the farm sector in this situation. Thanks.
Oh, thank you for that. Thank you for that, Mr. Agarwal. I'll hold on and let's go through all of the panelists before I back to the questions. Okay, so let's say moving on to Mr. Verma, to Keshav Verma. There have been quite a few questions on my screen here on wildlife and illegal trade. And it has been said that as far as this pandemic is concerned, that wildlife and illegal trade has been quite central to its genesis. Maybe this is less of an issue in India, but if we were to still learn something from it, what would they be? In your view, in the context of today's World Environment Day, I understand it is biodiversity, but very much part and parcel of the kind of system we live in and the kind of life we choose to lead.
Well, thank you very much, and congratulations for the World Environment Day. We were celebrating it also because it happens to be my father's birth anniversary. So whatever runs a bit in the family. So look, the issue of dealing with illegal trade and traffic and poaching is an extremely complex issue. We have tried when we launched the Global Tiger Initiative at the World Bank and brought the 13 tiger range countries together and then the 12 snow leopard countries together. We have tried at international forums, we have tried at national forums, we have tried bilateral policies. We have tried Interpol. We have created new institutions like the Quick International Consortium for Combating Wildlife Crime. But I'm afraid we haven't really succeeded, because it is also an issue in which millions are involved in terms of employment and life support. So let me tell you a few instances which need to be looked at, and we need to look at this COVID instance not only as a calamity, but also as an opportunity. There is a lot of public awareness, so there is very little response from governments of all the major COVID countries in terms of environmental protection. One is, this is an opportunity, and if this is an opportunity, we need to create, and I'm coming straight to solutions, to create an alliance at the highest level to fight illegal trade and traffic and to deal with demand. This demand has led to complete extinction of tigers and major wildlife in Vietnam, Cambodia, and Laos. It has wiped out tigers from Myanmar. It has created tiger farms, which are actually all over East Asia, starting with China, 7,000 tigers in tiger farms, tigers in Vietnam, tigers in Myanmar. It has created markets, which I have personally gone and seen in Kunming, in Hongqing, in China, in Wuhan, where we had a World Bank project, and in Mongla, in Myanmar, right on top of North China and Myanmar border. So these are huge markets, and this supply line is huge and efficient. Unlike what OP is talking about, supply line on agriculture, these supply lines are run by professionals who are well equipped. And so we have a huge issue to deal with. And if we really want to make a difference, first is to create an alliance. And I had actually requested our Prime Minister to lead that alliance and to bring all the global leaders together, prime ministers, presidents, and all, and put pressure. We have to put pressure on the consumption countries, whether it is China or it is Vietnam, and they have to stop doing that. Secondly, the role of international organizations like the CITES, these are all lessons I was talking, has been a matter of great concern to me. I mean, look at the amount of talk that took place there and the extent of inaction in really curbing illegal trade and traffic. And the fact that such institutions actually get taken over by larger countries. You've seen what is happening with WHO. You can see what is happening, CITES also. We never got any solutions out of CITES. And the problem, I always used to say, we have these 7 or 10 days of meeting of CITES, and we have these resolutions. And while we are doing it, the poachers might be raising a toast to all of us to give them time to go and poach. So that is another very important issue. We need some policy changes. We haven't talked about policy. There is a lot of talk. We need to make some policy changes in harmonizing the laws between and among countries to really build the heat on the poachers to stop this whole thing. We also have to take in India significant action in terms of recognizing 2 things. One is that we have a traditional hunting community that sits, the Wagaris and the Sapperas and all these, that sit from Madhya Pradesh to central India, who are actively indulging. There are almost 60,000 families who are actively indulging in poaching, and that must be even going further. So we have to take action there. We have to equip the front line to stop this poaching and to not be cute with poachers. You know, you've got to be really, we should, and I am a believer in shoot at sight theory, which works. It has worked in Kaziranga, though there are some human law activists who are unhappy about it. We need new laws to protect landscapes, not just protected areas, but landscape. We have a situation today where corridors are being actively exploited in the name of industry. We have to do something about our rivers and wetlands. US has the Wildlife Wilderness Act. It has the Scenic and Wild Rivers Act. We should look at it and take important lessons out of it. And lastly, I really feel industry is sitting on one side and not engaging with the issue of environment or nature. We are talking about all this kind of big deal about all this. At the same time, they are persuading environment departments to give, unsustainable clearances for their projects. They don't care. There is a lot of talk, and I would like to see, in November, whether Delhi is going to have the same azure skies, or if they are going to have the same smog back. Is it business as usual, or is it going to be different? So industry has to also move in. And lastly is the issue of migrants. These migrants, as OP has also talked about, are going back to these remote areas. A lot of them must be belonging to forest-dependent villages and communities. Mm. This is leading to poaching, or not poaching of tigers and other things, but prey base. And this will be turning into a confrontation between our, national park directors and their staff and these people. So that is going to be another issue. We can't just talk about tourism and all this kind of stuff. We have to bring in a different concept of agriculture also, high value agriculture, in order to get them into it. Lastly is the issue of governance and policy. Stopping illegal trade and traffic and creating any kind of sensitivity to it is not just the exclusive responsibility of the forest department. It has to be the responsibility of all other departments, whether it's industry, whether it is home, whether it is finance. Everybody has to chip in. Otherwise, in a district, if the district magistrate and the DIG police and the SSP are sitting outside the consciousness of protecting this, the Indian Forest Service guys, they won't be able to do it. I belong to the Indian Administrative Service, but I really sympathize with this issue that the Forest Department can alone and exclusively, they've done a great job in fighting this whole thing, but Forest Department exclusively cannot do it. So let us see some real action in terms of policy and governance. There is a lot of talk. I heard 1 hour of very nice conversation around it, but I want to see some action, and there has to be some consciousness that 20 lakh crore has been given out and not a word on environment. So what about green investment? What about green industry? What about these kind of sensitivities that have to be thought through? We can't just sit in these important conversations and just listen to these people. They have to be held to it. And there has to be some conversation around conservation. There is no conversation. It's great that Atul and this kind of a 5th June conversation is taking place, and you are there in front of me, and Dia Mirza is there in that conversation. But that conversation just disappears. It comes back after one more year, and that is the situation. So we are actually, as a nation, not committed to biodiversity. We are not committed to environmental sustainability, and we should not try to pretend that we are. I'm sorry to say that, but I actually believe it. And let's not pretend, because nature has given us such a, such a jolt. And even if we now don't learn from it, that'll be too bad. And it looks like business as usual to me. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Verma. You raised a number of questions, but again, just I'm going to hold on to them. But I might just ask the rest of my panel to just think for a couple of minutes. One of the questions, or 2 or 3 of the questions that have been coming in, asking what can companies do beyond planting trees? In fact, quite explicitly that. So just something for you to chew on, because I want to come back to a number of issues that have been raised in the panel here, all very, very important. But let me just come back to this in a bit. there is a question, in fact, on biodiversity loss, and what can be, and a suggestion as well, that one of the ways to reduce this loss is to put an economic value to it and the economic dimension to balancing the loss. And this ties in really nicely to our panelist Pushpam Kumar, because a lot of work you have done, Pushpam, has so far been on valuing and accounting of natural capital, very, very fundamental to the way things are managed once they have a certain value to it. So if I were to then say, well, how would you insert these concepts of economic value of biodiversity into policy making, something that that Keshav just raised? How would you integrate them into markets, something that Ravi Singh raised as well earlier, that many parts of our investment thinking, a whole chunk of our investment thinking needs to internalize this sort of, and I think all of you are saying that we all need to internalize conservation, biodiversity, just general environmental issues. And third, how would you insert these concepts of economic value into market instruments? So based on all of the work that you've done, what would you say would be these insertions into these three categories?
Thank you, Mahua, and happy to be here. How much time do I have, Mahua?
It's 1:05 here. I think we can do about 7-8 minutes, because I'm also trying to get the questions responded to.
That is enough. So when we talk about, I have been working for UNEP and trying to bring natural capital, I would call it natural capital, and biodiversity at a species level at least is part of natural capital. And then my answer to your question would be how to bring natural capital, including biodiversity, at a species level. Right. I'm not talking about biodiversity at biomes or DNA level or molecular level. That will be, although ideal thing to do, but it is really hard. So they are part of natural capital. Natural capital, just to let you know, that was not an agreed term in United Nations vocabulary until 2016. So United Nations Assembly, UNEP's Assembly, has accepted it. So at least 190 countries have embraced these terms and they agree on natural capital. So it is very much, this term has the political buying in. In all the discussions so far, we have been talking directly or indirectly that how nature is important for humans and the economy. Yes, they are. And international scientific assessment, starting from ozone assessment to IPCC to Millennium Assessment to IPBES now, we know that different constituents of human well-being, including income and health and psychological and social fulfillments, they depend upon nature. But that is aspirational statement. If you want number, it is available. Half of the world's GDP, they depend upon nature and biodiversity. Half, 50%. Now, but if you see the age of the Anthropocene, what we call it, since 1950s, 15 times output has grown in last 70 years. The population has grown by 3 times. So per capita output has grown by 5 times. But what has happened to the nature? Honorable Minister was referring to IPBES finding that 1 million species on annual basis are under the risk of extinction. We have lost half of the wildlife, Ravi can say more on this, in last 50 years. So natural capital, what UNEP has done in last, that for 140 countries, natural capital is on decline in last 25 years. And when I say natural capital, of course, it includes biodiversity, but it also includes quality of air, groundwater, surface water, topsoil, and many other biophysical attributes which biophysical scientists are well aware of. But economists and the policymakers are slightly distant. So that is on decline. And this has happened in spite of the fact that GDP per capita has grown. For the world, I'm coming to India in a second. For India, we did some study with the Ministry of Finance, the UNEP and Ministry of Finance, Government of India. Here also, the trend is similar to the global trend that natural capital is showing the declining trend. I mean, the very fact that 42% of the land, topsoil, is degraded on a severe to moderate scale, and then loss of biodiversity is a testimony to the fact that we are losing natural capital. Now, so coming to the point, how to integrate, how to organize this trade-off and resolve it and bring it to the policy, especially in the context of India. Number one point, we must change the compass through which we measure our progress and sustainability. GDP is no good, and there has been enough literature in research, in think tank, in the university, and in the policy since Rio 1992 to 2002 MDG. Then you had SDG now, 17.19 goals. I mean, there are enough literature. And then, not to mention the multilateral trust bank, including GCF or the bank or World Bank, I mean, they have been talking about it. OECD has been talking about it, that GDP is, so in India also, there is a good receptivity right now, I would say. So we have to think about the wealth. The way, Mahua, you would know better, the private business firm take care of the balance sheet and the capital. Somehow the national government fails to do that. We have to change that matrix. So moving from GDP, the flow, coming to the stock, wealth, that is one. Second, integrate nature into larger macroeconomic policies that include subsidies. I mean, for example, famous example of perverse subsidies to the farmers. And I must put the caveat, I'm fully aware of the purpose of the subsidy on the criteria of equity and empowerment. But nonetheless, there is a need for better focusing of these subsidies, what they have done in Punjab, what they are doing in the Northeast. I mean, you know the examples where we have really destroyed groundwater, soil salinity issues, waterlogging, monocropping. These are very real, they are happening. So subsidy is one of the, but then subsidy is one. Then you can focus about investment design. You can link nature not only with goods market, but also with the money market, capital market, labor market. And that is where a lot of issues about responsible banking will come up. We need to change that. Third, we are talking about impact investment. Where is the effective, EIA, the environmental impact assessment? When we analyze project, we have to take it very seriously, both plus and minus. And that is where we have to also think about intergenerational equity by reflecting what you call social rate of discounting of the present and the future benefits. So we have to think about that. And that is where a lot of issues on valuation of nature will appear. Fourth is, of course, at the product level, I would say, life cycle assessment that has to be done with all sincerity. Finally, Kesav has raised that issue. I have analyzed from my own source, and the IMF website is giving. Right now, when I'm talking on 5th of June, the post-pandemic relief package is touching more than 10 trillion US dollars. By the way, 20 lakhs crores of Indian relief package is not part of that. If you add, it can go further up. Except two countries, Lithuania and South Korea, I also have not seen any mentioning of nature, biodiversity, and climate change into those relief packages. Now, the question which Keshav is asking, and that is a very pertinent question. We have to think that what fraction of this 10% of GDP is thinking about nature. And It is when I also live in the same world. I know output has shrinked. We need job. In India has a huge problem of migrants, marginal workers, rural non-farm laborers. I fully appreciate that. But why? I mean, in the short run, certainly we need to create job, but a lot of job can be created in nature-based solution activities where you have double dividend benefits. You can manage to climate and you can also enhance the flow of services of ecosystems and enhance and manage biodiversity. So there are some studies coming up. The employment elasticity, or I will say employment generation potential of nature-based solution is very high as construction sector. Why can't we think about that? So, I mean, again, this is not the time to go into the details. A range of activities under nature-based solution are there as a promising tool to help you where you can really balance economic growth and this recession, which is much deeper than the recession of 1930s. And I think we should be able to resolve this conflict. But then we have to be very, very serious. Evidences are there, data is there, there are good examples, success stories. We have to be very serious and in saying that we care for nature. I will stop here. Thanks.
Thank you for that. Thank you. I think you've touched on again a number of questions. Let me try and address some of the questions that have been coming through the course of this panel. One of them I've already floated back. What can companies do? There's a number of questions. One that's asking very, very directly beyond just planting trees. What can companies do? There are other questions around circular economy, meaning how do we start a discussion on circular economy in India? And by then I'm also assuming, what do you, in your views, on that comment? There are other questions around, do we need some sort of guidelines for companies for what in fact they can do? What can guide corporates on potential impact on local flora, fauna? But I think the broader question here is more generally, what do you think companies can do? I've also put a bunch of other questions into different buckets and I'll hold off for a bit.
So you want me to take the questions now? Or? Okay.
But maybe OP, you want to say something because I know OP has to leave in 5 minutes.
So maybe over to OP and then, yeah.
Okay, sure. Okay,
I'll just quickly say this about, what can corporates do beyond planting trees? I think, the point that I mentioned, I think corporates can get into farming. Corporates can get into buying from farmers. Corporates can get into providing inputs and taking up stuff from them. Corporates can get into decentralized processing closer to the farms. I think, there are a lot of things that corporates could really be doing. There is this example of, say, Fab India, for example. They pick up, artisans located all over the country, pick up produce from there, give them inputs, and then sell their products at decent prices in urban areas. So this is an example of what we should be seeing from corporates, even in the agricultural sector and the farm sector. Let me leave it. I'm sorry, Mahu, I have to rush off, but I can't.
Can I come in on this, please?
Yes, go ahead.
Let me hear Keshav and then get out.
OP gave a good example as usual, and he's trying to run away. Listen, guys, there is another aspect to it. We had created when I was in the World Bank in India, we created the India Wildlife Business Council. And there were a lot of companies. There were 45 companies from India, top companies on that Wilderness Council, Wildlife Council. And we went and talked to a lot of people in the regions, in Northeast, in South, in North, and in Western India. The question they asked, there was a lot of interest to do something collaborative. And the question they asked, what is it that you want us to do? And I want to tell you that it wasn't easy to answer that question because we were not ready with the business models to really invite the industry into any kind of collaborative public-private partnerships or anything. So there is a deficiency on the part of the department itself, and all of us who are sitting around, whether we are from the forest department or from the civil service, that we have not really given enough attention to business, develop a business model for it. And coming to this issue of this economics of ecosystem services, if we can actually help in green accounting and really develop a proper background, which IIFM and Madhu Verma helped us to do on the valuation of ecosystem services, I think a lot of private sector would be interested. But we have to, from our side also, prepare business models which would entrust the private sector. And then we can go to the government and say that, look, these kind of incentives can be built there. We have a huge gap there, and we have not really tried. People like Ravi Singh should be the ideal people to lead it.
Yep. I just wanted to add one more thing to this. What the corporate sector can definitely do is implement extended producers' responsibility. Become responsible for the waste that they are producing and introducing into society. I think that will play a very, very big part in moving towards a more sustainable world. I haven't been able to fathom or understand for the longest time how human beings were so quick to package everything that we consume, but never accounted for the quantum of waste that packaging would create, and the fact that none of that waste would have anywhere to go, and less than 1% of it is recycled. I mean, it is frightening. And I think that, when we're talking about nature-based solutions, while we're talking about investment and capital and the need for the private and the public sector to genuinely partner on eco solutions, extended producers' responsibility is a very big part of that. And we need a systemic change, and not just a systemic change, but I feel like what we are unfortunately have displayed in the last few decades in the way we've done business is a completely corrupted conscience. Any kind of change is possible when we apply conscience to the way we do business and the way we build our industries. And I feel like the role that policymakers, government, and civil society have in bringing about the shifts that we need to, in increasing investment to secure natural resources, in increasing investment to, incentivize the private sector to do more sustainable business. There are so many things that need to happen, but Keshavji also said this, and I'm going to reiterate this because I think it's very, very important. We need to update our law. We need to genuinely change the narrative by the kind of laws that that will define how we protect and secure our natural habitats and systems that provide for us.
Sure. Thank you. Let me ask the question back again. Let me just probe this a little bit further, because all of you.
Yeah, you wanted something on circular economy and or you were okay. So basically, for circular economy, we have to understand that instead of a linear production system where you just extract resource, produce and throw and create waste, what others are referring to, there can be a good possibility of recycling them. There are success stories, there are good examples, and it can be done. And when we measure the success of circular economy, it should not be the produced capital, what we know as gross domestic product and income, but it should be wealth, which includes produced capital, human capital, social capital, and natural capital. So that yardstick, that compass is fundamental. Now, you were asking what are the guidelines and how the companies can do. Of course, what Dia and Keshav has already mentioned. Besides, of course, legal framework will help, and that is key. But we have to convince the CEOs and raise public awareness that, look, you are a profit seeker. very good. If profit is not a bad word, but you are also father, mother, sister, brother, and you have to think about your children. Last month, I was in a remote village of Bihar in bordering Nepal, and I couldn't believe my eyes. The kind of gutka pan masala and bhujia plastics were all over. I mean, I have seen those villages in my childhood, and things have changed. So, I mean, there are enough anecdotes, stories, and examples where this earth, and certainly in India, which is holding 1.4 billion people now, and some of them are very, very poor, they cannot sustain this consumption and production process. So we have to convince, and that's why people who are popular figure like Dia and other, even Hollywood stars, when they come to UN and speak, I really admire them because they have the clout to change the opinion and thinking, and that is really appreciable.
I understand that. Thank you. Yeah, I fully agree. All of you have been talking about what needs to be done, and there's just so much conviction on this panel. Let me spend a few minutes. I want to ask, all of you. There are two ways you can make change. I mean, of course, there are many ways. You can reach consumers and so on. But by economic theory, if I were to say these two buckets, you can either put a law and you can penalize somebody for not following that law, or you can create some incentives, and provided the incentives are big enough, people will move, right? Every individual moves towards incentives. I think more than two panelists said today, in passing almost, or maybe even lamenting, that there's nothing in the economic stimulus package that came out that had anything green in it. So if we were to say that if this was the time, that we have a little bit of time now, we've all seen blue skies, we've seen absolutely clean air. The panel before me also mentioned this many times. I think, especially for those of us that live in Delhi, it's a terrible place for 3 months in the year. So it is possible. I understand it's come with complete economic lockdown, and nobody wants that. But let me go back to the instruments that can get us to that. Even Dia was saying, companies need to do producer responsibility. Well, let me just get to the how. What in your view, if the package that's been announced has nothing green in it, or not enough green, if I can say that, what would you suggest we do? Is it what for the next 3-4 years, companies that will, MSMEs and others that will use that package will continue business as usual, will not feel, is this one more time that we're saying, one conversation we're saying, yeah, of course the world needs to be green and the sky needs to be clean, and it was so nice. But then on the other hand, it's not really that conviction or that desire is not showing.
So just quick one here. Mawa, I didn't say that they are not, I have not seen the details of the package, so I can't say that it is not green. Maybe it is, but I have not seen it. My fear is that after they slow down due to the lockdown globally, we have seen how the air became clean in Wuhan and Chicago and New Delhi, how the black swan started coming to and dolphin in the Venice Lake. Those things, but my fear is that it will go back to the normal. That is a pathology in a very big way, because people are desperate. We have seen some of the leaders and their speeches, how desperate they are to extract energy sources, coal and other sources, and then rest. What can happen is for anyone to imagine. Now, what we can do here, I mean, I'm coming from India myself, so I know what it is. Right now, whenever we have a job creating, a strategy, build it around nature, and it is possible. I mean, it is possible. There are evidence. It is not a slogan of a green wala guys. There is hardcore data to support that around nature job can be created. Second, for the company who are company, we have to tell them and convince them and persuade. This triple bottom line is you can sync where you can social responsibility, profit-seeking behavior, and your own prosperity can revolve around nature. A large number of initiatives are showing it. And third, Don't go back to the normal. I mean, this is a big issue right now. There's COVID-19, but it is a great opportunity for us. We should not allow you to go as West. We have to rewrite chapters of economic science. We have to redo the whole paradigm of the development, and we can reboot the whole economy around nature. Otherwise, we have seen the movie Contagion. We have been seeing the warning coming from WHO and Gates Foundation. We didn't pay attention to that. We don't have to be myopic. Otherwise, please be careful. There will be another pandemics of another type, and then the world is not ready for that.
Okay, can I come in? Excuse me.
Sure. Yes, please. Go ahead.
So coming to this issue of the package. So I'm advisor to UP government, and I was discussing the package with the Rural Development Principal Secretary, and he kind of brought forward how under Manrega scheme they were actually encouraging a lot of tree plantation and lot of digging of desilting of lakes and cleaning of riverbeds and wetlands and everything else. So they are actually taking the employment potential of the migrants into green areas. Actually, the Chief Minister last year encouraged a plantation of 23 crore trees, which is 1 tree per person in UP. This year's target is 8.5 crore. How much is that? 85 million trees in Uttar Pradesh. So, and incidentally, I just want to inform you that India has the lowest per capita tree. It is 28 per capita against 102 in China, 740 trees per capita in US, and 4,067 trees in Russia. So, you know, we got a long way to go as far as tree. We have completely created a country which is treeless, and we may give any kind of figures about increasing something to degraded land from 2.1 million to 2.6 million. But when you look outside the plain, you see one straightforward gray plain. And where are the trees? So actually, we don't have enough trees in our country. So this program can be actually channelized towards green implementation if it is done with certain intent. I mean, the officer there has a lot of interest in green economy and green areas. So he has actually taken this program in that direction in a very constructive manner. So it can be done, but there has not been a consciousness in this whole package in terms of green growth. They should have been talked about, and nobody did.
Sure. Thank you. Sure. Sad for that, but thank you. But I'm glad to see that there are of course pockets of large scale activity going on. Any other comments? Let me just go back to the panel. Yes, Mr. Singh.
May I come in, please?
Yes, please. And then we'll close up in a couple of minutes.
Thank you. There are a couple of things I'd just like to say. That one is laws and guidelines in India exist. We have good laws. We have good guidelines. They exist at national and state levels. I don't think we should wait too much to say that those need to change. Of course, they will. They need to evolve and change, and they will. And hopefully those points will come in. But there's sufficient playing room within those good laws to do good action. That's number one. Number two, let's not wait for another package. I believe, for instance, maybe I'm in a minority, that a package will come which will relate to this aspect that we are discussing. It has not come so far, but the doors have not been closed for this as yet. So optimism, hopefully some of the things that we are discussing will influence the policymakers, and maybe we'd get the requisite directives. But for evolved institutions, including corporate sector, for institutions like, we have something called the India Business and Biodiversity Initiative, similar to what Keshav mentioned. This is the IBBI of the CII. For evolved corporates, you don't need to, wait and say we need to do this, that, the other. A lot of them started work on the environment, on ecology from the 1930s and 40s. So good action can continue. The knowledge base is there, the investments are there, good people can be taken on board. Most importantly, two things. One, reduce your pollution in every which way. Reduce your pollution. Reduce waste, including packaging that Dia mentioned. There's no place left in India to take this ahead. We have all landfills are more or less gone. Make well, reduce the footprint of your product if you can, as much as you can. Restore. Where you can, for instance, you've exploited a mine. Mining is hugely controversial in conservation, but wherever it is possible, restore the mine by investing just that little bit that you can to bring it back to some kind of an ecological positive. Insist on your suppliers to supply goods and manufacture them well. Influence your customers to buy well. So the gutkas and the packaging that Pushpam saw on the border and villages across India, and try and see some of the rivers that are filled with them. Those kind of issues don't happen. And I think, as I implore you, let's not wait for something to happen. We've got time, we've got resources, we've got people with us. There's a good group. Let's take positive actions wherever we can. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Mr. Singh. And let me just move over. Any last comments from you, Dia? You were the first speaker and you have the honor of being the last speaker. I have to give the floor over back to another panel. Any final thoughts?
I'm just really grateful for this conversation because it was an important one to have. And I also think that while many of us perceive World Environment Day as a day of celebration for the things that we've achieved, I think it's also an equally important day for us to recognize how much we need to change and how much change needs to be implemented. And I hope that this discourse encourages policymakers and civil society to bring the changes that we can. I truly believe that we all at an individual level, at a government level, at a corporate level, have to start walking the talk and understand that our health, our human security, everything that we hope for from life is only possible if we secure our natural systems.
Yeah.
And it's this way of living that we have assumed is unsustainable. It is bereft of conscience. We cannot be killing in the name of profit. And we just have to change our attitudes, our perspective, and our understanding. So I really, with all my heart and with every bit of sincerity, appeal to the conscience of people to save and protect our existing natural habitats, increase and of course improve the green solutions that we have, bring more incentives and green solutions into the way we do business. And knowledge, I think, is a very powerful resource base that Ravi mentioned so emphatically about. And I think knowledge really will transform us. And we have now more than ever before access to that knowledge base, which we can use to implement and adopt nature-based solutions to build more ecological economies. And I think we need to stop perceiving environmentalism as obstructionism and understand that the questions that people ask for the sake of environment are human rights questions and include all of us and our well-being.
Thank you for that. I like the appeal to every single individual. And thank you all for this amount of sincerity, for your passion, your commitment. the pluses and minuses. And thank you for having a really solid, honest discussion and open discussion on this. Once again, well, sorry, not once again, I should actually use this 20 seconds to just advertise that between UNDP, WWF, WRI, and CPI, UNEP has taken it upon themselves to initiate 4 or 5, I think it's a series of 4 or 5 such dialogues. So to Keshav's question, I hope this doesn't come back just 1 year from now. I hope that through these sorts of dialogues, we find the right kind of community, we find the right kind of people, we find the right kind of networks. And then when you spot an opportunity to make a change, you know who to call, you know what to do, you know what you don't know. So Divya or somebody at the UNEP will be back in touch with all of you and with others, with all the attendees who've been at this event on topics of discussion of relevance for the next, and I think the panels will run for the next 1 more month. I look forward to seeing you back on the panels. I hope that our life isn't just me and my screen. Once again, and thank you for your sincerity, and please enjoy this day. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, everyone. It was lovely to join.
Atul, thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
So I'd like to thank you, Ms. Mahua Acharya, our esteemed moderator and eminent panelists for sharing their valuable insight. Beginning of this first webinar of this series, and I know that collective effort is what is going to lead the way. So thank you once again to all our esteemed panelists once again. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It's time to say goodbye.
But it's super interesting what you just said of rural India becoming hubs of growth rather than people from rural India migrating to the cities as labor, right? And,
Just leave the meeting.